Okay, last video for the moment for the 101, and this time we're gonna talk about the topology. So this is gonna be a short video, I hope. And basically, I want to comment some things that I pay attention when it comes for topology for facials. First thing, it's this model, the original design. It's from Acel Cosireva. I think I said on the intro video, but just I want to shout out again the artist. And I did myself the retopology, so this is if it's something good or something wrong here, it's my fault, I'm sorry. And I try my best to give a good topology, but it's far from perfect. But I want to point you to some stuff I always pay attention. And first, let's start by the mouth. So I'm just gonna take here my whiteboard, and the first thing I try always to do, it's here on the corner, this that defines the let's say the side of the corner. I always try to keep it straight as much as possible, and straight on the both sides of the, let's say, the lip wall. So not only here on the external but also on the internal, that keeps some parallel. So if we go here on the model and we check, maybe let me highlight this line here, so you will see it's not completely straight if we go from side, but unless it's more or less parallel up to certain point. So here it's diverged, one goes up, here goes up, and the other goes down. That's okay, but unless this area here that both are more or less on the same height, let's say, or they run parallel. Sometimes I find that the upper line, even the corner is here in the middle, when it goes outside goes this direction, and when it gets inside goes this direction. So that's not really good. We want to avoid polygons that create like this kind of shape here, so it goes like zigzag here, because when you compress this, it tends to create very small polygons like this, and it's hard to control. If you can get squares in this direction and this direction, it's much better. So this is what I try my best to do this. I'm gonna show you later some examples of better topology, way better than mine, probably best that you can find for characters. And so obviously the vertical loops are in pairs, so you always have one-to-one access here. You want to avoid that you have more like sections in one lip than the other. That's very important. The other thing is I try to keep also my loops consistent in which area defined on the lip. So here, if I have this loop that defines the upper lip extreme or the border, so I try to use the same loop here, and the one that goes here to define almost the closest to the contact area on the lip. I try to keep it here. I think it's better if I also highlight this one, so you can see here it's consistent, and also here is consistent. Maybe if I put it like in gray, you can see better. So these kind of things sometimes happen also, that yeah, this comes here, maybe it defines the middle of the lip, but when it goes to the lower lip, suddenly it's not the middle, but it's one closer, or even the contact loop like this. So that's something that you want to avoid. You want to have consistency, and you want to have this kind of balance between your loops. So that's one thing. That's for the lips, obviously. Other thing that it's important is when you let me hide some part of the model. So when you have here the section, to try to keep this thickness and roundness here consistent. Also the interior, I don't have that many loops in the interior, that's okay, but unless to have this kind of consistency here. I found that here on this, sometimes it goes like very thin, like again, I'm just gonna make a quick paint over, maybe it's this. So here is very sharp, very thin. You want to have some volume here, and when you rotate your lip, it's gonna be around the center, so it's gonna create a nice volume here. What else? Yes, on the lips. For the closed lips, you want this kind of situation where it's crossing a little bit. So if you have smoothing, it's gonna go almost there. Or I have a little opening here, but that's okay. But what you want to avoid is to snap 2 points on the same position. That's not good. So for instance, if I have my closing lip here, and let me let me snap this to this like this. That's not good. You need to avoid that because it's going to create a lot of issues later, and of course it's not going to help you to keep the lips closed with some smoothing unless you have a huge amount of topology, or maybe for a feature film with like realistic character, like this kind of like super high resolution. Then yeah, maybe makes sense to have this closed, but to be honest, I never had a good results with that. Okay, let me unhide this, set up textures again. For the eyes, I put this object here separated. It's what is called the lacrimal, this little part here interior of your eyelid. And then the same approach. So you can see I try to keep all the loops consistent. Also this is the corner, it's clear, and here the corner is the clear one, and the rest should be one-to-one, all the sections. Also the one that I try to keep for the crease, let me see if I can select it, it's also around the crease as the same position, so here and here. Here it can be better. Yeah, you can say maybe this one, but this one is there, but I think it's gonna be good enough with this one. But always let's try to keep as much as you can this this consistency, because later we will add some controls to control this crease here and the crease under your eyebrows here. So if you don't do this, it's gonna be a little more complex, and yeah, it's gonna be, yeah, maybe not that clean to control. Last comment I want to say here is about the eyebrows. So the eyebrows in this case are separate geometry, and you always want to have some kind of consistency between your underlying geometry on your face and your topology on your eyebrows. If you have, of course, like geometry eyebrows like the ones I have here, that's important. If you have other like maybe hair or things like that, it's also important to keep this kind of consistency in the area that you have, because you know now these polygons here, the ones I'm selecting now, are the ones that should be like one-to-one consistency with this one. So if you make this more compressed, you want to compress a little bit your eyebrow, and if you want to stretch, of course you will have issues. Normally the eyebrows, if I go down and I go up and down, it doesn't compress that much. The thickness of your eyebrow, it doesn't change that much. So you want to keep this consistent and have one-to-one kind of feeling. So you always compress a little bit, you stretch a little bit, that's okay. But you don't want to, when you go up, maybe you have a super long eyebrows or super thick eyebrows, and when you compress, it becomes very thin because you compress in this. That's something that it's more than rigging, it's like also appealing. It's something that you want to avoid and try to keep it as minimal as possible. Yeah, I think that's it. I didn't model here the eyelashes. Maybe later on some of the videos I didn't plan this, but I will add some eyelashes and like topology or something, so I show you how to deal with that. But for the moment, well, it's not in the outline of this workshop, but I will try to include it in some point, maybe like an extra video at the end or something. Okay, so that's it. The rest on the topology flow, so you can see I want to mark here some interesting points. I think it's important. It's my change on direction on the eye area. It's around here, so you can see here you have these concentric loops, and then it changed direction here. For the mouth, we have the change here, and you can see I have another change here, but check it out, this change is in the same loop. So I try to keep these kind of changes consistent here. The rest are quite like straight and kind of a grid shape. So you can see here, here, and here, here. So this later when we do the blend shapes, we want to keep these directions straight. So you don't want to play with diagonals too much unless on the base ones. So you want like wide, narrow, up, down, and then you have the combinations that creates the nice curvature and shape. But the base, you want to keep it straight and clean as possible. So that's one thing that I keep in mind. Later for the front area, I don't know how to say that in English. This area, I try to keep consistency here. The polygons are a little stretched here. You can see are not like completely square. Ideally, you can keep it square. It's easy because you can see clearly when you stretch and when you squash the things and where is the balance. So that's something that is a little tip, but if you can keep this all consistent, it's gonna be better. Here it's far from perfect, but I think it's gonna be good enough for the purpose of this workshop. The rest of the topology, the ears and some other parts are, well, so-so. I think it's gonna hold enough. I close a lot of topology here on the top of my head. I think it's come on. The neck, I try to keep it as much square as possible, so you can see here. And yeah, some consistency also on the jawline here and so on. And the nostril here and the nose, also some loops here, but I think that is the most important part. Here I try to add some loops here and there, so when I create these kind of shapes, I have quite a lot. I'm getting older, but you have you need to have some topology there to support these kind of wrinkles there. For the rest, I think that's all. Probably there's any other comment, we will see it during the other videos and so on. So topology reference. So I always point to my friend Sergi. He's probably the best on this, on how to do like topologies. And he has a really nice model that you can get on GitHub for $15. And it's probably one of the best references on topology, and especially facial topology, that you can get actually on internet. There's some images here, maybe that's not good enough to see it, but yeah, I totally recommend to go to his Gumroad and grab this one. You can get this for free also. That's really good topology, but this is even better. Here there's a small one detail I want to comment. Here on his base, I think he has the eye, it's closed, and we're gonna work with the eyes open. So there is always this like its eyes, the default is closed, it's open, like like also like the position, like if you have a stand pose or T stand pose. So this kind of conversations is always going on. For my experience, both have advantages and disadvantages. For the easiness, it's easier to work, I think, with open eyes for the rigger and for the modeler, because there's like you can see the character more like realistically how it's gonna look. Like 90% of the time it's not gonna have the eyes closed, so that's a good thing. It has some disadvantages in especially like deformation wise, textures, of course you can stretch and things like that, and always to close the eye depends how it's done. Maybe if you want to have a clean line, it's a bit harder, things like that. But it's like everything in life, I think you have to make your choices. And for the, again, I think it's for the purpose of the tutorial and for like I think many productions, it's been using with the open eyes, so we're gonna go with that direction. Okay, so that's it for this video. See you in the next one.